The woman who ruined my family returned. She found me waiting in her office. The fluorescent lights hummed uncomfortably as I sat in the sterile waiting room outside her office, the scent of stale coffee hanging thick in the air. It had been almost a decade since I had seen her. 10 years of silence, 10 years of unanswered questions lingering like ghosts in the corners of my mind. I could hear the ticking of the clock on the wall, each second a reminder of the time lost, the moments stolen. I had come here today with a purpose, a quiet resolve that coursed through my veins like a cold river. When she stepped through the door, her presence felt like a storm breaking after a long drought. The woman who had orchestrated my family's downfall, the architect of betrayal, walked into the room with the same confidence that had once radiated from her, that had drawn my brother in like a moth to a flame. Her eyes were sharp, calculating, yet I could see the shadows of desperation lurking beneath the surface. I had waited years for this moment, and now, seeing her again, I felt a strange mix of anger and pity swirling within me. "Marcus," she said, her voice smooth but strained, as if rehearsed. "I didn't expect you to be here." "Neither did I," I replied, my voice steady, betraying none of the chaos in my heart. I forced myself to meet her gaze, to confront the woman who had torn my family apart. The betrayal had come like a thief in the night, quietly dismantling the life I had built, leaving only the wreckage of shattered dreams in its wake. My brother had fallen victim to her charms, a man blinded by love and ambition, a pawn in her game of greed. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. There was something disarming about her veneer of confidence, a mask that hid the cracks beneath. I could sense her unease, the way her fingers fidgeted with the edge of her blazer, the slight quiver in her chin. It was a far cry from the woman who had once glided through life unscathed, leaving destruction in her wake. "Marcus, she began, but I raised my hand to silence her. I had no interest in excuses or apologies. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand the depth of the pain she had caused. "You ruined my family," I said, my words deliberate and cold, each syllable a carefully honed weapon. "You took everything from us. My brother's trust, my mother's peace, our home. All for what? A few dollars? A fleeting dream." I could feel my pulse quickening as the memories flooded back. The late-night arguments, the tears, the sleepless nights spent wondering how someone could betray their own flesh and blood. She shifted uncomfortably, her facade cracking. "I had no choice, Marcus. You don't understand what I was going through. I was desperate." I interrupted, my voice low and steady. "Desperation doesn't excuse betrayal, Sarah. You made your choices, and now you'll have to live with the consequences." The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. I could see the realization dawning on her face, the understanding that I was no longer the vulnerable man she remembered. I had grown in the shadows of pain, nurturing my anger into something sharper, something more potent. "I'm not here for a confrontation," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I came to talk about your brother's estate. The house. It's still in your name, and is that why you've come back? To lay claim to what's left of our lives." I scoffed, my heart racing with a mix of indignation and resolve. "You think you can just waltz in here and take what's not yours? You think I'd ever give you that power again?" Her expression shifted, a flicker of fear crossing her features. Beneath the surface of her confidence, I saw the desperation clawing at her, the realization that she was no longer in control. I had spent years building my strength, learning the intricacies of the law, and now I was ready to wield it against her. "I know things, Sarah," I said, leaning forward, my voice low and dangerous. "Things you don't know I know. You don't have the upper hand anymore. You think you can manipulate me again, but I've seen the depths of your deceit, and I won't let you drag me down with you." Her eyes widened, and for a moment, I thought I saw a hint of vulnerability, a crack in her carefully curated armor. It was fleeting, though, as she quickly masked it with irritation. "You don't scare me, Marcus. I'm here to help you. You can't just ignore the reality of the situation." "No," I said firmly. "You can't help me. You can't help anyone but yourself." The truth of my words hung heavy in the air, and I could see her calculating her next move, desperately trying to regain control. The atmosphere shifted, taut with unspoken tension. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us, and I knew that this confrontation was just the beginning of a much larger game. She had underestimated me, just as she had underestimated my brother. I would not allow her to rewrite our story, not when I had finally found the strength to stand against her. As I watched her face contort with frustration, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. This was not just about revenge. It was about justice. It was about reclaiming my family's honor and ensuring that she would never again be able to destroy lives with her manipulative charm. "Let's make one thing clear," I said, my voice steady and unwavering. "I'm not the man you once knew. I'm no longer your pawn. The game has changed, and I'm ready to play." And as I watched her defiance falter, I realized that my waiting was over. This was the moment I had been preparing for, the moment I would take back what was rightfully mine, not just for myself but for my family. The path ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but I was ready to face them all. The woman who had ruined my family had returned, and she would find me waiting, resolute and unyielding. The fluorescent lights above flickered intermittently, casting a cold, sterile glow over the room. I sat in one of the unforgiving plastic chairs, the stiff material pressing into my back, a constant reminder of the discomfort that accompanied this moment. The ticking wall clock echoed like a metronome, each second amplifying the tension that coiled tightly in my chest. I could almost sense the weight of the past bearing down on me, a suffocating fog of memories I had fought to escape. Sarah sat across from me, her expression a curious blend of confidence and desperation. She had once been a radiant force in my brother's life, a tempest that swept through our family, leaving devastation in its wake. Now, she wore her charm like a threadbare coat, frayed at the edges, revealing her underlying vulnerability. The faint scent of stale coffee mixed with her perfume, a cruel reminder of the countless mornings I had woken to find her in our home, all too familiar yet painfully foreign at this moment. "Marcus," she began, her voice smooth yet laced with tension, "I understand why you're angry, but you have to see that I had my reasons." I leaned forward, my pulse quickening. "Your reasons? You tore my family apart, Sarah. My brother was a good man and you used him. You played with his feelings like a child with a toy, and when you were done, you tossed him aside." Her eyes flickered, a storm of emotions swirling within them. For a brief moment, I felt a pang of pity for her. She was no longer the confident woman who had captivated my brother. Instead, she appeared almost fragile, as if the weight of her past was too heavy to bear. But any sympathy I might have felt was quickly overshadowed by the memories of the chaos she had unleashed. "I was desperate," she insisted, her voice rising slightly, betraying her composure. "I thought I could change things, fix everything. It wasn't just about your brother. It was about survival." "Survival?" I scoffed, incredulous. "You destroyed lives to save your own. You think that justifies your actions." "Marcus, please," she pressed, leaning forward, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "I never meant for it to go this far. I didn't know how to handle the situation. I thought I could make him see things differently, that he could help me." I shook my head, anger flaring again. "Help you? By cheating on him? By lying to him? You think your desperation excuses your betrayal." Her facade cracked momentarily, revealing the raw emotion beneath. "I was scared, Marcus. I was backed into a corner. I thought he loved me enough to help me escape. But everything spiraled out of control. The sincerity in her voice momentarily halted my tirade. I felt like I was watching a play unfold, each act revealing the layers of a character I thought I knew. But the reality was stark. Her excuses felt like smoke and mirrors, designed to obscure the truth of her actions. The memories of my brother's heartbreak flooded my mind. His anguished expressions, the nights he spent lost in despair, the anger that had consumed him until he could no longer recognize himself. "I can't believe anything you say anymore," I replied, my voice low and firm. "You can't just waltz back into my life and expect me to ignore the damage you've done. You want to talk about the estate? Fine. But don't think for a second that I'll let you manipulate me again." A flicker of surprise crossed her face, followed by a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You've changed, Marcus. I can see that. You're no longer the boy who let his brother's happiness dictate his own. You're standing up for yourself." I straightened, the steel in my resolve hardening. "I've learned a lot since then. I've learned that sometimes standing up means facing down the very person who caused all the chaos." Her gaze softened for just a moment, and I realized that beneath the confidence she wore like armor, there was a deep-seated fear. Did she genuinely believe that her desperation might earn her some form of sympathy from me? Or was she merely playing the same old game, hoping for a different outcome? "Marcus," she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, "I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to make things right. The estate is complicated, and I need your help to navigate it. You have the power to make this easier for both of us." I felt a surge of disbelief. "Help you? After everything you've done, you think I would help you? You're mistaken. I won't be your pawn again." The tension in the room thickened, wrapping around us like a noose. I could feel the weight of her gaze, the way it bore into me, searching for cracks in my resolve. I had come here ready to confront her, to reclaim my power, but now I could see the desperation that lay beneath her carefully constructed facade. The realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. She was scared too. "Marcus, listen," she pleaded, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm not the same person I was back then. I've changed. I've lost everything, and I don't want to lose what's left. I just want to settle this estate without dragging it through the mud. Can't you see how much simpler it would be if we worked together?" "Together?" I spat the word like venom. "You don't get to rewrite history. You don't get to play the victim now that the consequences are knocking at your door. You made your bed, Sarah. Now you have to lie in it." Her shoulders slumped, and for a moment, I thought I saw the remnants of the woman who had once charmed my brother, the one who had laughed easily and loved fiercely. But that woman was gone, replaced by someone who had lost sight of her own reflection in the chaos she had wrought. It was unsettling, watching her unravel before me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that perhaps I was witnessing the end of a charade. "I didn't come here to fight," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I came to negotiate. I want to find a way to resolve this without more pain." The sincerity in her tone caught me off guard. My anger simmered beneath the surface, but a part of me felt conflicted. Could I really trust her intentions? The scars she had left on my family were deep, and it was hard to envisage a future where we could coexist without resentment. "Negotiation is a two-way street," I replied, my tone cautious yet firm. "You have to understand that I will not let you manipulate me or my family's legacy again. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about justice." Her expression hardened, and for a fleeting moment, the mask slipped entirely. "Justice? You think this is about justice?" She laughed bitterly, the sound echoing in the sterile office. "You're just as trapped as I am, Marcus. You can't move forward while clinging to the past." "Maybe so," I admitted, my voice steady, "but I refuse to let you dictate my future. I'm not afraid of facing the ghosts of our past, and I won't let them haunt me any longer." The silence that followed was deafening, punctuated only by the relentless ticking of the clock. I could see the realization dawning on her face, the understanding that this was no longer a game in which she held the upper hand. I was no longer the vulnerable boy who had watched his family disintegrate before his eyes. "Then what do you propose?" she asked, her tone shifting, as if she recognized the gravity of the moment. I paused, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. "We meet with the estate lawyer. We lay everything on the table. Assets, debts, and any claims you think you have. But make no mistake, I will not be swayed by your pleas. This is not about you anymore. It's about making sure my brother's legacy is honored and preserved." Her eyes narrowed, calculating, searching for a hint of weakness. "What if I can help you? What if there's more at stake here than you realize?" I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms defiantly. "Then show me. But know this, Sarah. I won't hesitate to fight you every step of the way. This isn't just about the estate. It's about holding you accountable for what you've done." The tension in the room shifted, a charged energy that pulsed between us. I could sense the resolve in my own heart, a determination to confront the ghosts of the past while carving a path toward the future. Sarah, for all her confidence, was just as trapped as I had been. The game had changed, and I was no longer a pawn in her story. The air between us crackled with unresolved emotions, a mixture of anger, fear, and an unexpected glimmer of hope. As the clock ticked on, I realized that this confrontation was just the beginning. We were both fighting for our lives in our own ways, and the outcome remained uncertain. But one thing was clear: I would not back down, and I would not allow her to ruin my family again. The air hung heavy between us, thick with unspoken accusations and the weight of our shared history. Sarah leaned back in her chair, the leather creaking beneath her as she crossed her arms. I could see the delicate tremor in her fingers, betraying the calm facade she tried to project. The fluorescent lights overhead hummed like a swarm of angry bees, amplifying the tension that crackled in the silence. "Marcus," she began, her voice smooth yet edged with something sharp. "You have no idea what it was like for me back then. I was just trying to survive." "Survive?" I scoffed, the bitterness spilling out like a torrent. "You destroyed my family, Sarah. You took everything from us. Your survival came at the cost of my brother's betrayal and my parents' ruin. That's not survival. That's manipulation." Her eyes flickered, a brief flash of something vulnerable before she quickly masked it with annoyance. "You think I wanted any of this? I was young, scared, and alone. Spare me?" I interrupted, leaning forward, my palms pressing against the cold surface of her desk. The sterile office felt like a cage, the walls closing in as I fought to maintain my composure. "You chose to play with people's lives like they were pawns in your game, and now you expect me to feel sorry for you?" The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second feeling like a countdown to some inevitable explosion. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, a mix of anger and something else, something that tasted like fear. The fear of losing control, of letting her see how deeply her actions had scarred me. "Do you think I don't regret it?" she shot back, her voice rising, the veneer of confidence cracking further. "Every day I wake up, and I see the consequences of my choices. I'm not proud of what I did, but I had no choice. I was cornered." "Cornered?" I echoed, disbelief mingling with disdain. "You were the one who cornered my brother, who spun your web of lies and deceit. You could have walked away. You chose not to." She pressed her lips together, her gaze wavering as if she were fighting against the tide of her own emotions. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I had once known, vulnerable and scared. But that was a ghost, a remnant of a past that had long since turned to ash. "I didn't know what else to do," she whispered, her tone softening, almost pleading. "I thought I could make it right. I thought if I could just get close to your family, maybe things would be different." "Different how?" I asked, my voice low, almost a growl. "By tearing us apart? By turning us against each other? You took my brother's loyalty and twisted it until it broke. You poisoned our lives, Sarah. A flash of something, perhaps regret, perhaps anger, crossed her face. You think it was easy for me? I lost everything, too. I lost myself in that chaos. The woman you knew, she's gone. The weight of her words hung in the air, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of empathy. But I quickly shoved it aside. I couldn't afford to let compassion cloud my judgment, especially not now. Not when she was still trying to manipulate the narrative, still trying to paint herself as the victim. Maybe that's the problem. You've always seen yourself as the center of the universe. Everyone else was just collateral damage in your quest for what you wanted. I straightened up, bracing myself against the desk. But I'm not here to listen to your excuses. I'm here to claim what's rightfully mine. Sarah's expression shifted, a storm brewing behind her eyes. And what's that? The family estate? You think that will fix everything? You think that will bring your family back? It's not just about the estate, I replied, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside me. It's about holding you accountable for what you did. It's about reclaiming my family's legacy, something you tried so hard to destroy. The tension in the room thickened, a palpable force that left little room for retreat. Her facade of confidence had all but crumbled, revealing the cracks beneath. You have no idea what you're asking for, Marcus, she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, as if afraid the walls themselves might hear her. You're playing a dangerous game. Maybe, I said, feeling the weight of my resolve deepen. But I'm ready to play. I won't let you manipulate me or my family's legacy any longer. This ends now. Silence enveloped us, broken only by the relentless ticking of the clock. I could see it in her eyes, a flicker of desperation mixed with the realization that her carefully constructed world was slipping away. I reveled in it, the knowledge that I held the power, even as the remnants of my past clawed at my insides. Let's talk about the estate then, she said, her voice steadier now, though the tremor remained. What do you want? I want what's mine, I replied, each word feeling like a declaration. I want full control. No more secrets, no more lies. You'll have no say in how it's managed. Her lips curled into a sardonic smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. You really think I'll just hand it over? After everything I've sacrificed? Sacrificed? I laughed bitterly. You sacrificed my family for your ambitions. You may have thought you were building something, but all you built was a house of cards. And now it's time for that house to come tumbling down. She leaned back, her expression hardening, the mask of confidence slipping back into place. You're a fool if you think it'll be that easy. I won't let you take this from me without a fight. I'm counting on it, I said, my heart pounding in my chest. You've made your choices, Sarah. Now you'll face the consequences. The air was electric, charged with the tension of our impending battle. Each word exchanged felt like a sword drawn, the stakes rising higher. In that moment, I realized how far I had come since that fateful day nearly a decade ago when everything fell apart. I had transformed from a boy lost in the chaos of betrayal into a man ready to reclaim his life. Fine, she said, her voice steady but laced with an underlying tremor of uncertainty. Let's see what you're made of, Marcus. But remember, this game has no winners, only survivors. I met her gaze, unyielding. Survivors don't manipulate others to get what they want. They face their demons head-on. With that, I turned away, the air still thick with unresolved tension as I opened the door to leave her office. As I stepped out into the stark hallway, the fluorescent lights flickered overhead, reflecting the tumultuous storm brewing within me. I was ready for the fight ahead, ready to reclaim what was rightfully mine. But as I walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that this confrontation was just the beginning of a battle that would test the very core of my resolve. The ticking clock echoed in my mind, a reminder that time was running out, Not just for Sarah, but for me as well. Each step I took felt heavier, laden with the weight of my family's past and the uncertain future that awaited. But I was no longer afraid. I had waited long enough, and now it was time to confront the ghosts that haunted us both. As I stepped into the cool air outside, I felt a sense of purpose solidify within me. Whatever lay ahead, I would face it head-on. No more running, no more hiding. The battle had begun, and I was ready to reclaim my life. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, their unforgiving glare accentuating every crease in Sarah's brow. It was as if the sterile office had conspired with my memories, illuminating the shadows of the past I had tried so desperately to bury. I could hear the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the wall, each tick a reminder that time had not been my ally in this confrontation. My heart thrummed in my chest, a war drum echoing the tension between us. "Marcus," she started, her voice a fragile whisper that cut through the thick air like a blade. "You don't understand. Back then, I was just trying to survive." I leaned forward, my hands clenched into fists on my knees. "Survive? You used my brother to climb your way to the top. You didn't just betray him, you destroyed our family." Her eyes flickered, a storm brewing beneath the surface. "You think you know everything, don't you? You think this is black and white, but it's not. There were reasons, complicated reasons. I made mistakes, yes, but I wasn't the only one at fault." "Then tell me," I pressed, my voice rising as anger surged within me. "What complicated reasons justify the destruction of a family? What excuses can you offer that would make this any less than selfish ambition?" She flinched, and for a moment, I saw the confident facade crack, revealing a woman teetering on the edge of desperation. "You don't know what it was like," she said, her voice trembling. "I had no choice. The pressure was immense, and your brother, he was so trusting. I didn't want to hurt him." I shook my head, the weight of her words pressing down on me. "You didn't just hurt him, Sarah. You destroyed him. You took everything we had and twisted it into your own gain." She drew a shaky breath, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her blouse. "He was in over his head. I thought I was helping him, guiding him. I didn't realize the depths of my own ambition until it was too late." Ambition. The word hung between us like a chasm, an abyss that had swallowed my family whole. "And now," I challenged, narrowing my eyes, "what are you hoping for? To rewrite the past? To convince me that your regrets are enough to absolve you?" "I never expected you to forgive me," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I came here hoping for some kind of understanding. I don't want this to escalate further, Marcus. We can work together for the estate, for the sake of your brother's memory." "Work together?" I scoffed, bitterness seeping into my tone. "You think I'd ever let my guard down around you? You've shown your true colors, and I will not be fooled again." The words struck her like a physical blow. Her shoulders slumped, and I could see the fight draining from her. "Then what do you suggest?" she asked, desperation creeping into her voice. "Do you really want to drag this through the courts? You'll lose everything in the process. Money, time, peace of mind. Everything," I echoed, bitterness curling my lips. "Do you think I care about the money? This is about justice. This is about my family. You took everything from us, and now it's time for you to pay." In that moment, I could almost hear the echoes of my brother's laughter, see the warmth of summer evenings spent on our family porch, the laughter that had been silenced by her betrayal. Anger surged through me, a tidal wave threatening to drown out the tiny voice of reason that urged caution. "Marcus," she pleaded, her voice rising as her desperation seeped into each word. "You have to understand. I'm not the same person I was back then. I've changed. I've lost everything too. I just want a chance to make it right." "Make it right?" I shot back, incredulous. "You think you can just waltz back into my life and act like this is some petty disagreement? You shattered my family. You can't just patch things up with a few empty words. She stepped closer, her eyes pleading with a sincerity that momentarily halted my accusations. Please just listen. I've been to therapy. I've tried to make amends in my own way. I know I can't change the past, but I want to help you. I want to make sure your brother's legacy isn't lost in this mess. The sincerity in her voice gave me pause, but it was a flicker in a storm, brief and fleeting. How do I know you're not just trying to manipulate me again? I asked, my voice low and steady. I can't prove anything to you, she admitted, her shoulders sagging. But I can show you. Let's sit down with the estate. I'll be transparent. I'll let you see everything. No more secrets. The offer hung in the air, heavy with implications. I had spent years preparing for this moment, and the idea of walking into a negotiation with her felt like stepping into a minefield. Yet I was not the scared boy I once was. I had grown into a man forged in the fires of betrayal, and I would not allow myself to be ensnared again. Why would you want to help me now? I asked, suspicion lacing my words. What's in it for you? You have nothing left to gain. Maybe I want to do something good for once, she replied, a tremor in her voice. Maybe I want to stop running from my mistakes. The clock continued to tick, each second a reminder of the battle ahead. I weighed her words, feeling the weight of the past pressing down on my chest. Even if I consider your proposal, it won't erase what you did. It won't bring back my brother. You have to understand, I'm not looking for reconciliation. I'm looking for accountability. I know, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, and I'm here to face it, to face you. I studied her, searching for any sign of deception, any hint of the manipulator I once knew. But all I found was a woman who had been stripped of her power, now vulnerable in a way that felt almost foreign. Perhaps desperation had driven her to this moment, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the storm within her was far from quelled. Fine, I said finally, my voice firm. We can discuss the estate. But know this, you will not manipulate me again. I will be watching your every move. Her eyes widened, a flicker of gratitude flashing across her face. Thank you, Marcus. I promise I won't let you down. As I stood to leave, the air in the office felt charged, as though we were on the brink of something monumental. I could still feel the weight of the past pressing against my shoulders, but a small part of me wondered if this was a step toward reclaiming not just my family's legacy, but my own peace of mind. As I turned to walk out, I felt her gaze on my back, a mix of hope and trepidation. The confrontation had not resolved the turmoil within me, but perhaps it had opened a door to the possibility of a new beginning. And as the door clicked shut behind me, I couldn't shake the feeling that the battle was far from over. The ticking clock had marked just the beginning of a new conflict, one that would demand everything I had. The fluorescent lights hummed above me, a relentless drone that matched the racing of my heart. I had stepped out of Sarah's office, leaving the stale scent of coffee and regret behind, yet the weight of our confrontation clung to me like a damp fog. My pulse thudded in my ears, drowning out the mundane sounds of the waiting room. A ticking clock, the occasional rustle of paper, and the distant murmur of voices drifting up from the reception area. I leaned against the cool wall, trying to catch my breath. The sterile environment felt suffocating, mirroring the turmoil that churned within me. I had come prepared to confront the woman who had torn my family apart, ready to lay bare the scars she had inflicted. But as the door closed behind me, I realized that the battle was far from over. I could feel Sarah's presence lingering in the air, a ghost of manipulation and charm that still managed to ensnare my thoughts. Marcus? I muttered to myself, shaking my head as if I could physically dislodge the memories of her words. They replayed in my mind like a broken record, her claims of survival and change echoing with a hollow sincerity that grated against my resolve. I had stared into her eyes and seen the flicker of desperation beneath her confident facade. For a brief moment, I had almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But there was no room for sympathy in this fight. My family's legacy, the very fabric of our lives, had been shredded by her deceit. I could not afford to back down, not now, not when I had finally found my voice again. I pushed off the wall, my determination solidifying with each step as I made my way toward the exit. I needed air, freedom from the confines of this sterile prison. Just as I reached for the door handle, a voice sliced through the tension, sharp and unexpected. "Leaving so soon, Marcus?" I turned slowly, bracing myself for the sight of Sarah standing behind me, her expression a blend of feigned innocence and calculated charm. She wore a tailored blazer that hugged her figure, her hair perfectly coiffed as if she hadn't a care in the world, the very picture of poise. Yet, in the depths of her eyes, I saw a flicker of something darker, a hint of the turmoil she tried so hard to conceal. "I thought we were just getting started," she continued, stepping closer. The distance between us shrank, and the air crackled with unresolved tension. I straightened my shoulders, refusing to let her proximity intimidate me. "I'm done playing games, Sarah. I'm not here to indulge your need for validation." "Games?" She laughed, the sound both melodic and chilling. "Oh, Marcus, you must know by now that life itself is a game. We're all just trying to survive, aren't we? Survival doesn't justify betrayal." I shot back, my voice steady despite the anger that simmered beneath the surface. "You destroyed lives for your own gain, and now you want me to believe you've changed? After all this time?" Her smile faltered, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the cracks in her armor. "You don't understand," she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "You didn't see what I had to endure. You weren't there. And neither were you when my family fell apart." I countered, my words cutting through the air like a knife. "You played us against each other, and now you're asking for understanding? You're not the victim here, Sarah." She recoiled slightly, the flicker of vulnerability in her eyes quickly masked by a shield of defiance. "You think you know everything, don't you? You think I wanted this?" I crossed my arms, feeling a surge of empowerment. "You made your choices. You wanted power, and you didn't care who you hurt in the process. You thought you could manipulate us forever, but I won't let you." "Manipulation?" Her tone shifted, a mixture of incredulity and anger. "You think I wanted to destroy your family? You think I didn't love your brother?" The mention of my brother sent a jolt through me. I took a step back, a wave of emotion crashing over me. "Love? Is that what you call it? You twisted his mind and turned him against us, against me. You don't get to claim love now, Sarah." Her expression hardened, and I could see the storm brewing behind her eyes. "And you think you're any better? You think you've come out of this unscathed? You're just as broken as I am, Marcus. Don't pretend you're some hero in this story." Her words struck a chord, and I felt my resolve waver for a moment. I had spent years grappling with the wreckage of our past, the guilt and shame gnawing at my conscience. But I had fought to reclaim my life, to rise from the ashes of betrayal. "I'm not pretending," I said, my voice rising. "I'm ready to take back what you stole. Take it back." A sardonic smile crept onto her lips. "You think it's that easy? The estate is a tangled mess, and you're just one player in a much larger game. You'll need me if you want to navigate this." "I don't need you for anything," I spat, the bitterness spilling over. "You've made your bed. Now lie in it." "Ah, but Marcus," she said, tilting her head slightly, her eyes narrowing with a predatory glint. "You're going to need allies, and I might just be the ally you didn't know you needed. Like it or not, we're tied together by this legacy. You can't escape me." I felt a shiver run down my spine, her words wrapping around me like a vice. The reality of our situation weighed heavily in the air, and I could feel the threads of fate tightening around us both. "What do you want from me?" I asked, my voice low and cautious. "Let's just say I want what's best for both of us," she replied, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "We can help each other, Marcus. You want justice. I can provide the means to an end. We can settle this once and for all. The proposition hung between us, tainted by the poison of her past actions. I stood there, torn between the desire to protect my family's legacy and the undeniable truth that Sarah was a formidable player. You think I'd trust you after everything? Trust is a luxury we can't afford, she admitted, a flicker of sincerity breaking through her facade. But we can leverage our strengths. Together, we could be unstoppable. I took a deep breath, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on my chest. The clock ticked insistently in the background, each second a reminder of the urgency of our situation. And if I refuse, then you'll be fighting a battle alone, she warned, her voice laced with a steely edge. And I can assure you, Marcus, you won't win. Not against me. I stood frozen, the tension crackling like electricity between us. The air was thick with unspoken threats and potential alliances, each word a step deeper into the labyrinth of our shared history. I could feel the ground shifting beneath my feet, the stakes rising higher with every passing moment. Finally, I spoke, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. I'll consider it. But know this, Sarah. I'm not the same person I was before. I won't let you manipulate me again. Her smile returned, a flicker of triumph lighting up her face. That's all I ask. Just think about it. We both have something to gain here. With that, she stepped back, giving me the space I needed to breathe. Yet her presence still loomed large in the office. I turned to leave, my mind racing with possibilities, the weight of the choice ahead settling heavily on my shoulders. The door closed behind me, sealing in the tension of our confrontation. But as I walked down the sterile hallway, I knew one thing for certain. The battle for my family's legacy was far from over. I had awakened something in Sarah, a determination that mirrored my own. I had made my choice to confront her, and now I would have to navigate the treacherous waters ahead, balancing the past with the future. Outside, the world was vibrant and alive, a stark contrast to the cold confines of the office. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of fresh air and freedom. I was ready to reclaim my life, to face whatever lay ahead, and to ensure that Sarah would not have the last word. The clock was ticking, and I was prepared to play my hand. The air in the sterile office buzzed, thick with unspoken words and the relentless ticking of the wall clock. Each second echoed like a drumbeat, punctuating the silence that hung between us. I could almost see the memories swirling in the air, wrapping around us like a suffocating fog. I leaned back in the hard plastic chair, its coolness biting into the back of my thighs. Sarah's proposal lingered in my mind, a double-edged sword that glinted with both promise and peril. Marcus, she said, her voice slicing through the thick tension. It was a sound I once found soothing, but now it felt like the creaking of old floorboards, a warning of instability beneath our feet. You don't have to decide right now. I know this is a lot to take in. Her hands fluttered nervously on the desk, betraying the confidence she tried so hard to project. The way she fidgeted reminded me of a trapped bird, desperate to escape, yet unsure of where to fly. I studied her, searching for the mask of charm that had so easily slipped from her face in the past. Beneath her polished exterior, I could sense the cracks, the vulnerability she tried to hide with every carefully chosen word. You don't get to dictate the terms of this conversation, Sarah? I replied, my voice low and steady, belying the storm that brewed inside me. You tore my family apart. You don't just get to waltz back into our lives, offering partnerships like some business deal. This isn't a negotiation. It's a reckoning. The fluorescent lights above hummed, casting a harsh glare across her features. I watched as her expression shifted from one of desperation to a flash of irritation before she quickly masked it with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I know I've made mistakes. I've spent years regretting my choices, she said, her tone softening. But I'm not the same person I was back then. I want to help. I want to make things right. Make things right. The words rolled off my tongue like poison. You don't get to rewrite your history, Sarah. You don't get to play the hero after being the villain. The silence that followed was heavy, a palpable weight pressing down on us. I could feel the tension radiating from her, a mixture of fear and resolve. It was as if we were two warriors on opposite sides of a battlefield, each waiting for the other to make the first move. I understand your anger, she said finally, her voice trembling slightly. But can't you see? We're in this together now, whether we like it or not. Your brother's estate is a tangled web, and I know it better than anyone. We could benefit from each other's strengths. Strengths? I scoffed, the bitterness rising like bile in my throat. Your strengths lie in manipulation and deceit, Sarah. I'm not interested in being your pawn again. Her eyes narrowed. A flash of the old Sarah I remembered, sharp, cunning, and relentless. And what makes you think you're in control here, Marcus? You may have some power now, but you're still tethered to the past. You can't escape it. Her words struck like a blow, reverberating through my mind. I clenched my fists, feeling the heat of anger blossom in my chest. You think I'm afraid of the past? You think I haven't spent every waking moment battling those demons? I leaned forward, inches away from her, my voice a low growl. I'm done being afraid. I'm done being your victim. For a moment, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face, and I savored it. It was a rare glimpse of vulnerability, a crack in her facade. But just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished, replaced by the cool confidence she had perfected over the years. Then let's fight together, she said, her tone shifting to something more persuasive, almost desperate. Think of it as a chance for redemption, for both of us. The estate is a legacy, Marcus. It deserves to be handled with care, and I can help you do that. I shook my head, the weight of her words thickening the air between us. You think I want anything to do with you? I don't trust you, Sarah. Not now. Not ever. Trust is earned, she replied, her voice steady. But I could see the flicker of desperation behind her eyes. You have to start somewhere. Allow me to prove myself. I'll show you that I'm not the enemy anymore. The words hung in the air, heavy and charged. I could feel the tension crackling like electricity, the weight of our shared history pressing down on both of us. The thought of working alongside her made my skin crawl, yet a part of me, one that I fought hard to suppress, wondered if there might be a way to leverage her knowledge for my own benefit. What's in it for you? I asked, skepticism threading through my voice. Why would you want to help me? What's your angle? She hesitated, her composure faltering for just a moment. Because I've lost everything too, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I was blinded by ambition, and it cost me dearly. I thought I could control the outcome, but the chaos I created swallowed me whole. I don't want to end up a ghost in my own life, Marcus. Her admission struck a chord. I could see the pain etched across her features, the shadows of regret lurking in her eyes. It was a vulnerability I had never expected to witness, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a pang of sympathy. But sympathy wasn't enough to erase the scars she had left on my family. I straightened in my chair, hardening my resolve. Even if I were to consider your offer, how do I know you won't turn on me again? You've shown me your true colors. Because I don't want to lose, she replied, her voice steady. But I could see the flicker of fear beneath it. If I lose this opportunity to make things right, I'll be lost forever. I can't go back to that life. We were at a crossroads, two paths laid out before us, each fraught with peril. I felt the weight of the decision pressing down on me, the heavy burden of my family's legacy resting on my shoulders. I need time to think, I said finally, my voice firm. This isn't something I can rush into. Her eyes widened slightly, a mixture of relief and disappointment washing over her features. That's all I ask. Just think about it. I want to show you that I can be an ally, not an enemy." As she spoke, I noticed the sun beginning to dip below the horizon outside the window, casting an orange glow across the sterile office. It was a beautiful sight, yet it felt out of place in this realm of cold, harsh realities. "I'll think about it," I said again, my tone leaving little room for negotiation. "But don't expect me to trust you. Not yet." "Fair enough," she replied, a hint of a smile breaking through the tension. "Just know that I'm here when you're ready." As I stood to leave, the weight of our conversation settled heavily on my chest. I walked past her, the scent of stale coffee and the hum of fluorescent lights fading into the background. The clock continued to tick, each second a reminder of the time wasted and the battles yet to come. I stepped into the corridor, feeling the cool air wash over me, and took a moment to breathe. The confrontation was far from over. The real battle was just beginning. I was determined to reclaim my family's legacy, but the question remained, could I truly navigate this treacherous path with Sarah by my side, or would she be the very storm that would drown me once more? The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh glare that felt more accusatory than illuminating. I leaned back in the stiff plastic chair, the coolness of the surface seeping into my skin, mirroring the chill that had settled in my chest. Sarah sat across from me, her posture a delicate balance of confidence and uncertainty, her hands clasped tightly in her lap as if they could anchor her to this moment. "Marcus," she began, her voice smooth but edged with an underlying tremor. "I know you feel betrayed. I can't change the past. But we have the opportunity to redefine our futures. Together." Her words hung in the air between us, thick like the scent of stale coffee that clung to the office walls. The notion of partnership felt like a poison laced with honey, a tempting offer, yet I couldn't shake the remnants of bitterness that lingered in my throat. "Together," I echoed, letting the word roll off my tongue like a bitter pill. "You expect me to trust you after everything you've done? You destroyed my family, Sarah. You turned my brother against us, against me. What makes you think I would even consider working with you?" I felt the heat rise in my chest, my pulse quickening as I recalled the fragmented memories of family dinners turned to silent stares, laughter twisted into whispers of betrayal. The weight of their absence was still a heavy cloak around my shoulders, suffocating and relentless. Her eyes flashed with something. Was it regret? Or was it simply the flicker of a predator cornered, ready to pounce? "I understand your anger. I do. But you have to see it from my perspective. I was desperate. I didn't just manipulate your brother. I was trying to survive." "I survive? By tearing apart my family?" I shot back, my voice rising, the sharpness of my words slicing through the tension like glass. "You played with our lives like they were just pieces on a board. You took everything from us, Sarah." I watched her flinch, a brief crack in her carefully crafted facade. For a fleeting moment, I saw the girl who had once been my brother's love, the soft smile that had charmed him into betrayals I could hardly fathom. But that girl was gone, replaced by the woman in front of me, her confidence now tinged with desperation. "Marcus, please," she continued, her tone softening, as if she were trying to coax me into understanding. "I know I can't undo the past, but I want to make things right. I want to help you get your brother's estate back in order. You can't do it alone. I'm your best option." The irony stung. The very person who had orchestrated my family's downfall now claimed to be my ally. And what do you get out of this? A shot at redemption? A clean conscience? I leaned forward, narrowing the gap between us. "You don't get to play the victim here, Sarah." Her expression faltered. I could see the tension in her jaw, the way her hands trembled slightly in her lap. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I need you to understand, I didn't set out to destroy anyone. I just wanted to find my place in a world that felt like it was crumbling. I thought I could love your brother and fix things." "Love?" I scoffed, the word tasting bitter on my tongue. You call that love? You broke him, Sarah. You broke us all. I clenched my fists, feeling the weight of unresolved anger swell within me. And now you think you can just walk in here and pretend like everything is fine? The room felt smaller, the air thick with the unspoken tension that crackled between us. I could almost hear the clock ticking in the corner, each tick a reminder of the time lost, the memories tainted by her betrayal. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. But I'm asking for a chance to prove myself. The estate is a mess, and I know how to navigate the complexities of it. We could benefit from each other if you would just trust me. Her vulnerability was disarming. I felt a pang of something that resembled sympathy, but it was quickly overshadowed by the familiar weight of anger. What if you're just trying to manipulate me again? What if this is just another game to you? Sarah's expression hardened, the facade slipping back into place. You're not giving me a chance to show you I'm different. I can help you, Marcus. I want to help you. I took a deep breath, the air heavy with the scent of regret and stale coffee, and leaned back in my chair, trying to process her words. The past loomed large, a specter that refused to fade, while the potential for a new path twisted before me like a double-edged sword. You say you want to help? I said slowly, searching her face for any signs of duplicity. But how can I be sure you won't stab me in the back again? How can I trust anything that comes out of your mouth? Her gaze locked onto mine, intensity igniting in her eyes. Because I'm not the same person I was back then. I've had years to reflect, to understand what I did. I've paid for my mistakes in ways you can't imagine. And yet, here you are, still trying to play the game. I countered, my voice a low growl. What's to stop you from taking advantage of me again? For a moment, silence enveloped us, thick and suffocating. I could see the walls of her confidence beginning to crack, revealing the vulnerabilities beneath. I can't change the past, Marcus, but I can try to make the future better. For both of us. The sincerity in her voice tugged at something deep within me, a flicker of hope battling against the weight of my mistrust. But hope was a fragile thing, easily crushed beneath the weight of betrayal. You want to make amends? I asked, testing the waters, my heart racing at the prospect of her response. Then prove it. Show me you're willing to put in the work. Let's go through the estate together. Let's figure out what you've done and how we can fix it. But know this, if you betray me again, I will not hesitate to expose you for who you really are. Her eyes widened, a mixture of relief and determination washing over her features. I will. Promise. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I nodded slowly, the decision hanging heavy in the air. A partnership was fraught with risks, but perhaps there was a chance, however small, that we could salvage something from the ruins of our shared history. With a deep breath, I extended my hand across the table, the stark contrast of our past and present crystallizing in that one gesture. Then let's get to work. As our hands clasped, I felt the weight of years pressed down on us, entwining our fates in a way that was both terrifying and exhilarating. The clock continued its relentless ticking, marking the beginning of a new chapter, one fraught with uncertainty, but also the faintest glimmer of hope. The room felt like it was closing in on me, the stark fluorescent lights buzzing overhead in a relentless hum. I leaned back in my chair, the cheap plastic digging into my skin as if it were a cruel reminder of my situation. Sarah sat across from me, her posture rigid, but there was an edge of desperation in her eyes that I hadn't noticed before. Marcus, she began, her voice smooth yet strained, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance. The words hung in the air, heavy with their implications. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. A chance? You've had countless chances at the expense of my family. What makes this time different? Her gaze faltered for a moment, a flicker of something almost like regret crossing her face. People change, Marcus. I've changed. The woman you knew then is gone. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Gone? Or just buried beneath layers of self-preservation? The accusation slipped out before I could catch it, but I didn't care. I needed her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand the ripples she had caused in our lives. Maybe both, she replied, her voice steadier now, as if she had braced herself for my onslaught. But I'm here trying to make amends. I can help you with your brother's estate. I understand it better than anyone else. You don't have to do this alone. The thought settled over me like a thick fog, obscuring my vision. I didn't want her help. I wanted her to feel the pain she had inflicted, to suffer like my family had suffered. But the truth was, I was standing at a precipice, torn between my desire for justice and the creeping realization that I might need her expertise, if only to untangle the mess she had left behind. I don't need you, I said, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. I can manage just fine without you interfering. Is that really true? She shot back, her voice rising slightly, the confidence cracking like glass under pressure. You're still living in the shadow of what happened. You're not just angry, you're lost. You can't pretend that you've got it all figured out when you're staring at a mountain of debt and legal issues. The truth of her words hit like a punch to the gut. I had spent years building a facade of control, but beneath it all, I was still grappling with the chaos she had left behind. My brother's estate was a labyrinth of confusion, and while I wanted to deny her access to it, a small part of me wondered if collaboration was the only way forward. I don't trust you, I said, my voice low and steady, hoping to mask the turmoil inside. How can I? You've always had your own agenda. She leaned forward, her eyes narrowing, intensity radiating from her. And what's yours, Marcus? Revenge? That won't get you anywhere. You'll end up right where I was, alone and desperate. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to look beyond the past. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second a reminder of the time slipping through my fingers. I could feel the tension in the room thickening, the air charged with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Why should I believe you? What's in this for you? I pressed, wanting her to reveal the truth behind her polished exterior. Because I'm trying to save what's left of my life, too, she admitted, her voice dropping to a whisper, vulnerability spilling into the space between us. I've lost everything, Marcus. The business, my reputation. I'm not the villain here. I just made choices that I thought were right at the time and I was wrong. But I want to make it right. Her confession hung in the air, a fragile thread woven through the chaos of our past. I could see the desperation etched on her face, the shadows of her mistakes haunting her. For a moment, the storm inside me quieted, and I felt a flicker of sympathy. But then the memories flooded back. My parents' faces, the betrayal, the way our family splintered into pieces. Couldn't let myself forget. And what guarantee do I have that you won't betray me again? That you won't walk away once you've gotten what you want? I can't give you a guarantee, she replied, her voice steadier now, a hint of steel lacing her tone. But I can promise you my commitment. I want to help you navigate through this. We can find a way to make it work together. Together, I echoed, the word tasting foreign in my mouth. You think I want to work with you? You think I want to sit across from the woman who destroyed my family and pretend we can be allies? Maybe not allies, she conceded, her gaze unwavering. But partners. You need someone who knows the landscape, who can help you make informed decisions. I don't expect you to trust me right away, but I'm asking you to consider it. I felt a wave of frustration rise within me, a tempest ready to surge. You think I can just forget everything? That I can push aside the hurt you caused? No, she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. But I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to be pragmatic. This estate isn't just a burden. It's a chance for something new. For both of us. The weight of her words pressed on my chest. Could I truly set aside my anger for the sake of practicality? A partnership with Sarah would mean surrendering a piece of my autonomy, but it also meant facing the reality of my situation. What do you propose? I asked, my voice cautious, each word measured as if testing the waters. She leaned back slightly, her eyes sparkling with a mix of hope and determination. We start by reviewing all the documents related to your brother's estate. I'll help you sort through the debts, the assets, everything. You'll see that I'm not the enemy here. I want to clear the air, Marcus. I paused, weighing my options. The thought of working alongside her felt like trying to navigate a minefield blindfolded. But the thought of continuing to wrestle with the estate alone was equally daunting. Fine, I said finally, my voice firm despite the uncertainty lacing my words. But this doesn't mean I trust you. I expect transparency. If you pull any tricks, I won't hesitate to end this partnership. Her smile was small but genuine, a flicker of relief breaking through the tension in the room. I wouldn't expect anything less. We'll take this one step at a time. As we sat in that sterile office, the air crackling with unspoken tension and the scent of stale coffee, I felt a shift within me. I was stepping into uncharted territory, but perhaps this was the only way to reclaim my life from the shadows of my past. The clock ticked on, and I knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. But for the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of hope. I was ready to confront the ghosts of my family's legacy, even if it meant doing so with the very person who had brought them to life. With a final glance at Sarah, I steeled myself for the journey ahead. It was time to uncover the truth, to sift through the debris of our shared history. Together or not, I would no longer allow the past to dictate my future. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting a harsh glare on the sterile walls of Sarah's office. The tension hung thick in the air like a storm cloud, promising rain but holding back, leaving us in a state of uneasy anticipation. I could feel the weight of my decision pressing down on my chest, a leaden reminder of the fragile alliance I had just forged with the woman who had splintered my family into a million jagged pieces. Working together, I said slowly, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. It feels like asking a wolf to guard the sheep. Sarah leaned back in her chair, her expression a mask of confidence, though I could see the slightest tremor in her hands. Marcus, we both have something to gain here. Your brother's estate is a complex web, and I know how to navigate it. I can help you untangle the mess. Her voice was smooth, almost soothing, but I didn't trust the honeyed tone. I had learned long ago that sweetness often masked the bitterest truths. Help me, or help yourself, I countered, my tone sharpened by a decade of resentment. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second echoing like a drumbeat, marking the relentless passage of time. I could feel my pulse quickening, the steady rhythm of anger rising within me. You destroyed my family, Sarah. You don't get to just waltz back into my life as if nothing happened. She flinched at my words, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the cracks in her carefully constructed facade. The confident woman who had seduced my brother appeared vulnerable, her eyes flickering with something that resembled regret, or was it fear? I was young, Marcus. I made mistakes, but I never intended for things to end up like this. The nostalgia in her voice was grating, like nails on a chalkboard. You think I'm supposed to feel sorry for you? You don't get to rewrite history. You chose to betray my family. Don't you dare try to shift the blame. I'm not shifting anything, she shot back, her voice rising. I'm trying to move forward, just like you. This estate represents a chance for both of us to finally put the past behind us. I narrowed my eyes at her. And what do you get out of it? Money? A piece of the pie? You think I'll just overlook what you did because you've suddenly decided to be a team player? The air crackled with tension. I could almost hear the thoughts swirling in her head, the calculations she was making beneath that cool exterior. I leaned forward, the distance between us feeling more like a chasm. "What's your play, Sarah? What are you really after?" She hesitated, her gaze shifting to the window, where the city buzzed mindlessly below. "You think I came here for money? For power?" Her voice dropped to a whisper, as if speaking the words aloud would turn them into reality. "I came back because I thought." "Thought what?" I interrupted, my frustration boiling over. "That you could just pick up where you left off? That everything would be forgiven?" "No!" Her voice rose sharply, slicing through the thick tension. "I came back because I need to make amends. I owe it to your brother. To you. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. I could have stayed away." I studied her, searching for any sign of deception, but her eyes held a flicker of something deeper, perhaps a longing for redemption. "You want to help me?" I asked, the skepticism creeping back into my voice. "How do I know this isn't just another game?" "Because," she said, her breath steadying as she leaned closer, "I've lost everything too. I've spent years running from my past, and it's finally caught up with me. I can't change what happened, but I can help you honor your brother's memory." The sincerity in her voice was disarming, and for a moment, I found myself wavering. Could it be? Was there a shred of truth nestled within her words? I recalled the way my brother had loved her, the way he had laughed, the way he had believed in her. But that love had been a double-edged sword, one that had cut us all deeply. "I need to think about this," I said finally, the words slipping from my lips like a reluctant confession. Her expression softened, the storm clouds of tension parting just enough for a sliver of light to seep through. "Take your time," she replied, her voice now a gentle murmur. "But know this, I won't let you down if you choose to trust me." I turned away, staring out the window at the cityscape, the sun dipping low and casting a golden hue over the buildings. There was a beauty in the chaos, a flicker of hope that reminded me of my brother's laughter. But it was overshadowed by the weight of uncertainty that pressed on my shoulders. "What if I choose not to?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Then we both lose," she replied, her tone unexpectedly forlorn. "I've spent too long running away from my mistakes. I'd rather face them head-on than live in regret." Her words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I turned back to her, searching for the hidden agendas lurking behind her carefully constructed walls. "And if I agree, what then? What happens next?" "Then we work together," she said, her voice gaining strength. "We untangle the estate, we confront the past, and we find a way to honor your brother. Together." The prospect sounded daunting, like climbing a mountain shrouded in fog. Yet, beneath the layers of resentment and anger, there was a flicker of something I hadn't anticipated: curiosity. What if this collaboration could be a path to closure? "Fine," I said at last, my voice firm despite the uncertainty swirling within me. "But make no mistake, Sarah. I'm watching you. One misstep, and I'll cut ties faster than you can say betrayal." A small smile broke through her guarded demeanor, and for the first time, I saw a glimpse of the woman I once knew, the woman who had once captivated my brother. "Fair enough," she replied, a hint of relief washing over her features. "I wouldn't expect anything less." As I stood there, the ticking clock behind me seemed to slow, each second stretching into eternity. We were two people bound by a past we couldn't escape, forced to navigate a future that felt as uncertain as the shifting tides. "Let's start with the basics," I said, my voice steadying. "What do we need to do first?" Sarah leaned forward, her eyes brightening with purpose. "We need to gather the necessary documents and assess the estate's current status. We'll need to meet with the lawyers and make a plan. It won't be easy, but I believe we can turn this around." Her enthusiasm was infectious, and despite my reservations, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. Perhaps, just perhaps, this partnership could lead us both towards some semblance of redemption. As the sun set behind the skyline, casting a warm glow throughout the office. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the journey ahead. Together, we would confront our demons, navigate the shadows of the past, and seek to reclaim what was lost. For better or worse, we were in this together now. And as the darkness encroached, I couldn't help but wonder if this fragile alliance could somehow transform the bitterness of betrayal into a bridge toward healing. 0, 0. The fluorescent lights flickered above us, casting an unflattering glow that stripped away any pretense of warmth. I shifted in the plastic chair, its cool surface a stark contrast to the heat of my emotions, which simmered just beneath the surface. Sarah sat across from me, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her coffee cup, a ritual that seemed more about seeking comfort than enjoying the bitter liquid inside. The scent of stale coffee hung in the air like a ghost of the past, mingling with the palpable tension that filled the sterile office. It was a place devoid of personality, with its white walls and minimalistic decor, more a holding cell for unresolved issues than a welcoming space for discussions. "Marcus," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I know you don't trust me. I wouldn't expect you to. But I don't," I interrupted, my voice harsher than I intended. "Don't pretend this is about trust. You shattered my family, Sarah. You don't get to stand there and act like you're here to help." A flicker of something, was it regret, crossed her face before she regained her composure. She was trying to maintain an air of confidence, but I could see the cracks forming. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I want to make things right if I can." "Make things right?" I echoed, incredulous, my disbelief palpable. "You ruined my brother's life. You took everything from us. And now you want to play the savior." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and suffocating. I could see the facade she wore cracking ever so slightly, revealing the vulnerability beneath. Her eyes darted away, as if searching for an escape from the very confrontation she had orchestrated. It was a moment of raw honesty that I had not anticipated, and it ignited a flicker of sympathy within me, a reminder of the girl I once knew, the girl who had captivated my brother and, in turn, captivated me. But that was a distant memory, swallowed by the darkness of betrayal. "Look, I didn't plan for any of this to happen," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was young and foolish. I thought I loved him, and I thought I could make it all work. But then everything spiraled out of control." "Spiraled out of control?" I scoffed, shaking my head. "You destroyed lives, Sarah. You don't get to downplay that." My heart raced, and I could feel the anger bubbling inside me, a seething cauldron of unresolved pain. She flinched at my words, the truth hitting her like a physical blow. For a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy, a reminder of the innocence she had once possessed. But that innocence had been marred by choices that felt unforgivable. The image of my brother, his laughter ringing through the house, was now tainted by the shadows of her actions. "I know," she said, her voice steadier now, "and I can't change the past. But the estate, it's still tied to you, Marcus. We can't just let it sit in limbo. It's not just your brother's legacy. It's your family's legacy." Her words hung between us, a delicate thread of reason woven into the chaos of our emotions. I felt the weight of the situation bearing down on me, the responsibility for my family's legacy resting heavily on my shoulders. But could I really trust her? The answer danced just beyond my grasp, a tantalizing illusion. "What's in it for you?" I asked, narrowing my eyes. "Why are you so invested in this?" "I want to help you," she insisted, her voice rising slightly, desperation creeping into her tone. "I'm not the same person I was back then. I've changed. I've spent years trying to atone for my mistakes, and I want to do better. If you give me a chance, I can help you navigate the estate. I know the ins and outs, and I've learned a lot since everything happened." I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms over my chest, my body language a fortress against her pleas. The clock on the wall ticked ominously, each second a reminder that I was running out of time to make a decision. And what if you're just trying to manipulate me again? What if this is all just a ploy to gain access to what's left of my brother's wealth? Then you'll have every right to cut me out of your life again, she shot back, her eyes blazing with a mix of defiance and desperation. But I'm asking for a chance to prove myself. You can't just dismiss everything I've done since that day. I've worked hard to rebuild my life. I studied her, searching for the truth in her eyes. I could see the cracks in her carefully crafted exterior, the way her hands trembled ever so slightly, betraying her inner turmoil. There was a flicker of sincerity, a glimmer of the person she might have been if not for the choices she made. But could I trust that flicker? The stakes were too high, the pain too raw. What's the first step? I finally asked, my voice quieter, laced with skepticism. There are a few loose ends to tie up, she said, her tone shifting from defensive to pragmatic. First, we need to sort through the paperwork. There are assets that need to be accounted for, and I have access to the files. We can go through them together. I nodded slowly, my mind racing. This was a precarious tightrope we were walking. And what about the people involved? The other beneficiaries? Are they going to be okay with this collaboration? Sarah's expression darkened, the shadows of her past creeping back into her eyes. They may not be thrilled, but we can't let their opinions dictate what's best for the estate. We need to focus on what your brother would have wanted. Right? I said, rubbing the back of my neck as I felt the weight of my brother's memory enveloping me. What would he have wanted? The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken emotions. I could almost hear his laughter, see the way he would light up a room. But I could also feel the ache of his absence, a gaping wound that had never fully healed. Let's start with the files, I said, my voice firmer now. If we're going to do this, I need to see everything. No more secrets. My resolve was strengthening, bolstered by the weight of my brother's legacy. Agreed, she replied, her eyes softening as a flicker of hope sparked within her. I promise, Marcus, I'll be transparent. You'll see everything. The sincerity in her voice was refreshing, but I couldn't allow myself to be misled again. With a deep breath, I stood up, the chair scraping against the linoleum floor, a sound that echoed through the sterile office like a judgment. Then let's get started. The air was thick with anticipation, each moment stretching into eternity as we stepped into uncharted territory. As we moved toward the door, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a delicate dance. One wrong step, and the entire facade could come crashing down. The clock continued to tick, a relentless reminder that time was not on our side. But deep down, beneath the layers of anger and resentment, I felt a strange sense of resolve taking root. Perhaps this was my chance to reclaim not just my brother's legacy, but also a piece of my own shattered past. I could feel the ghosts of our shared memories swirling around us, their ethereal presence urging me to take a leap of faith. As I stepped into the hallway, I glanced back at Sarah, who was now gathering the files with an urgency that belied her earlier vulnerability. The fluorescent lights buzzed above us, illuminating the path forward. What do you think will happen when we find the files? I asked, my curiosity getting the better of me. We'll have to face the truth, she replied, her voice steady but laced with an edge of uncertainty. Some things may be more complicated than we expect. Complicated? I repeated, the word rolling off my tongue like a bitter pill. That's one way to put it. I know it won't be easy, she admitted, her gaze steady. But we owe it to your brother to be thorough. This isn't just about us. It's about honoring his memory. Her words resonated deeply within me, the truth echoing like a chime in the quiet of my mind. Okay then, let's do this. We began weaving our way through the hallway, past the closed doors that felt like barriers to our progress. The air was thick with the weight of unresolved issues, the unsaid words that hung like a fog. It was a reminder of the emotional landscape we were navigating. a labyrinth filled with memories, regrets, and the hope that perhaps we could find a way through it together. As we reached the office where the files were kept, I felt a surge of anxiety mixed with determination. This was the heart of the matter, the beginning of a journey I never wanted but found myself on nonetheless. The fluorescent lights flickered one last time before we stepped inside, illuminating the rows of boxes filled with the remnants of my brother's life. "Here we go," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper as she pulled a box from the shelf, its contents a mystery waiting to be unraveled. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. The past was about to come rushing back, and with it, the chance to reclaim not just a legacy but perhaps even a part of my own heart. Together, we began to sift through the remnants of a life once lived, a life that had been tragically cut short. As we dove into the files, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than a task. It was a reckoning. And in that moment, I felt a fragile hope beginning to blossom. A hope that perhaps, just perhaps, we could find our way back to something resembling redemption.